What's up, everybody? Welcome to The Stack. I'm Alex.
I'm Justin.
I'm Pete.
And on The Stack, we have a ton of books to talk about, so let's get right to it with big one. Namor, #1 from Marvel, written by Jason Aaron, art by Paul Davidson and Alex Linz. This is Jason Aaron, not exactly returning to Marvel. He was just back with the Uncle Scrooge book, but he's been bopping around to a bunch of different publishers.
He's bopping.
He's bopping. He's doing the Jason Aaron bop, the hottest dance craze that's hit the nation.
Oh, yeah, it's a bop.
Anyway, Pete loves this, I think.
He did a little dance there. He got a little dance.
A little jig. This is him redefining the King of the Seas for a new generation. We pick up with Namor in prison as he was left in Avengers, I believe. That's where Jason Aaron left him. And meanwhile, we're flashing back in time, hence the two artists see two different timelines to find out more about the history of Namor, as well as his future as he enters a World War C, if you will.
Oh, boy.
I was pretty hyped for this because Jason Aaron always does a really good job when he's just crazy focused on things like he did recently for The Punisher, for example. So, but what did you guys think? Did this deliver on the hype that I felt?
Yeah, the Alex hype that we all felt for throughout the week building up. I feel like Namor is starting to look like Loki in a weird way. I feel like this has been happening for a while, and I don't know why. Because in the flashbacks, we get sort of more of the Namor-looking Namor. And so the Loki version, it just feels strange to me. I don't quite understand it. This is a little bit of a dark place for Namor to be, and it doesn't quite... I get, like, maybe we're starting in a place where the hero is troubled. It has to really make a comeback, but... I don't know. I don't understand this Namor, and maybe this journey is about him coming back to who he is a little bit. No Imperious Rex.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. First off, badass cover. Yeah, it looks like a different Namor, and we kind of get a different Namor for sure. And yeah, it doesn't feel like him a little bit, but this is still a very interesting story. It's kind of like intriguing to spend so much time with the character. You think you know them, and then be surprised by the choices that they're making in the comic. And I say that in a good way. The flashback art was unbelievable. The present timeline art was also really fantastic. So, yeah, this was a very enjoyable book, but I did kind of scratch my head a little bit and be like, what is going on? So I'm excited to see what's coming. But yeah, very interesting start with whole Namor in jail thing.
I really like the art in this book. I understand what you're saying about the depiction of Namor, but he's supposed to be strung out. He doesn't have any water. He is emaciated.
Salt water.
Yeah, he needs salt water, as do we all. We all wake up and drink a cup of salt water.
I exclusively drink salt water.
Yes.
That's why I eat saltwater taffy. You know what I mean? Just give me a little taste.
It's the same thing. Don't even drink the water. Get it straight from the source, the taffy.
That's right, the taffy.
Yeah, some people have chlorine pools. Pete has a saltwater taffy pool.
That's
he
right.
Takes in every day.
Oh, God.
Yum, yum.
I've been there, and ouch.
Yeah, out big time. We should say Pete is sort of a Willy Wonka figure in southeastern Pennsylvania. He's like has like saltwater taffy pool. He's got like a chocolate house. His driveway's made out of peppermints or something. I don't know. We haven't. Pete hasn't invited us to his house yet.
Yeah, it's not.
Well, we're not children. He wants to cook and eat, so you know how it is. Anyway,
Willy Wonka is he cooking and eating children?
Well,
you may be confused.
You got to Candy House. I don't think it's too much of a step to be. He's a witch eating people.
Wow, very different figures.
Yes.
One thing I will say. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Yes. Do you want to say something about candy or witches? Or
I was going to go back to the book, but if you have an angry Candyman comment, please.
No. Go back to the book, please. Go back.
I love to see Stingray. I have a weird affection for Stingray, a Marvel character who, by his own name, is like, I'm the greatest oceanographer in the world. I was like, okay, weird flex, but cool.
Do you have any problem with the fact that, sorry, this is destroying your point. Do you have any problem with the fact that his whole beard fits under that mask? Like, that's going to get smooshed in there.
It's got to be squish. It's got to be uncomfortable. And plus, maybe he's oil in that beard. Maybe he's oiling it up. So it makes sense to go under that weird. Like, why does he have a mask that covers his whole face? He's got to crunch his nose too.
So he can swim underwater. He's not a water breather.
I don't know if you've ever seen a mask to swim under the water, but it has a little nose place. And his mask, he's like wearing a Cobra Commander face for no reason.
Yeah.
Of a person I know about now. Thank you, comics. But I always loved Stingray. It was one of the first comics I ever bought. We've been talking in our Patreon Slack about our very first comics. Atlantis Attacks was one of mine, the Avengers issue. Stingray, prominent. I was like, who's this cool dude? Never saw him again until right now.
All right, why don't we move on to talk about another big issue, Paranoid Gardens, #1 from Dark Horse Comics, written by Gerard Way and Shaun Simon, art by Chris Weston. As you can probably tell from the Gerard Way of it all, this is a wild, weird trip in the mold of Umbrella Academy and the Young Animal stuff that he did. Here we're focusing on I don't know exactly what it is. Yes. Retirement home for something or others. Like there's some human, there's some weird monsters. Our main character seems to be an orderly who works there, who's the best damn orderly of all time, who has some secrets of her own that she doesn't remember, as well as a bunch of other strange things going on. What'd you guys think about this?
Yeah, this is, first off, it's got a great team behind it. So you get this kind of tripped out, interesting story, really cool characters. There's a great style to it. This is a solid #1. I'm not sure everything that's going on, but I kind of signed up for that when you see Gerard Way's name there a little bit. So, yeah, I think this is a great kind of start, give you just enough. And, I'm excited to see what's going to happen.
It's certainly interesting, and we don't know much about anything that's happening, but it feels like it is superhero adjacent, like a lot of Gerard Way stuff that is filtering the whole superhero genre into something completely different. So that's fun. It feels like this is a place where superheroes and maybe villains go to be reformed and turned into regular people, maybe. That's a very hip, shooting from the hip explanation. But the art's very good, and the images, like a lot of Gerard Way's work, are interesting and fun.
Now, Justin, you live in a tripped out basement. Do you have a wall that you have to go feed and talk to?
I inject a wall with different things.
So that's legit then. That's not just like...
Yeah, this comic was, I believe, a documentary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm hungry. Better drink some wall, is what I say.
Mm-hmm. I like the tension of this book, per the name Paranoid. It definitely has a sense of dread that feels like it's layered through the entire thing, even though everything that everybody's doing is rather banal. So I'm curious to follow this. Yes, except for the wall. Yeah. There's a weird wall, for any listeners who haven't checked it out. There's a weird wall that they inject with something or other. So there you go.
And we don't know.
I think the retirement home is alive, is the idea. I think it is retired as well as everything else, but will we get any explanation? Probably not. And I say that based on having read several issues of Umbrella Academy. Dark Knights of Steel, Allwinter, #1 from DC Comics, written by Jay Kristoff and Tom Tiller, art by Tirso and Riccardo Federici. This is a spin-off of the Dark Knights of Steel title that took the DC universe and put it in medieval times, not the restaurant, but the actual times itself.
But that's a fun idea, Alex. Oh, great stuff.
I would check that out, right? By the way, little side thing, I know we talked to Joshua Williamson about this, but I think it's in Brazil. They're once again doing Deceased as a horror theme at some theme park, and I'm like, I want to go to that so bad.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Seems great. Awesome.
Oh my God.
All your favorite DC heroes where the soda's very expensive. Medieval times.
If I want that, I can just go to the movie theater. Am I right? This is now in the Elseworlds banner, but otherwise it's a kind of the same thing. I will say, this is my poor reading of the credits here, but I was a little bummed out that even though we were getting a good old-timey black and white tale of a Viking Deathstroke, that we didn't have the original team on it. So it was a very pleasant surprise to me, a person that was ill-informed, to find the team doing a backup story that is set in the continuity of the original series. So overall, I think a really good package of a comic book.
Yeah, I agree. Cool ass cover. Love the black and white kind of tone, gray tone to it. Yeah, I just think it has this cool, badass kind of Viking feel. And then, great use of color to kind of make a point. And yeah, just a couple of twists and turns at the end there. This is fun, a solid start. I'm intrigued by what's to come.
I also thought this was great. I like that the front story is a completely different tale and a completely different genre. The art is great, as we've all said. And then we get the sort of flashback story in the backup. So that's really fun, of the main universe from the Dark Knights of Steel. But the only thing, I've never been a huge Deathstroke guy.
What?
Do you guys think Deathstroke is cool?
Yeah. I really like Deathstroke, but I think this is too much of a one-to-one, frankly, because the thing that's interesting about Deathstroke is having somebody who's an unstoppable killer, who's mostly human in the middle of all these superhumans. Like, I know he injects himself with stuff or whatever, but putting him back in Viking times, it's like he's a Viking. I don't know what to tell you. Like, there's nothing, it subtracts to me what's interesting about him is if in these times versus Dark Knights of Steel, taking somebody who's like, I'm Batman, but I'm Batman in an armor, or I'm Superman, right, but I'm a prince of this nation, that changes him and challenges the character in some way. Deathstroke here feels to me like Deathstroke, but less so. That's all.
Wow, a step down.
Well, a step down, but I enjoyed the story as like a badass Viking story, and I think, without getting into spoilers, shouts out to the coloring in this issue across the board. I'm very excited to check out issue number 2.
For sure.
So we'll see. What do we talk about? Powerpuff Girls, number 1 from Dynamite, written by Kelly Thompson, art by Paulina Ganucheau. We had them on the show, and it's weird that we didn't talk to them about this book. So I guess we'll just have to make up our own opinions, right, Pete?
Yeah, great. Let's not be deterred by our amazing guests. Let's share our real thoughts.
Yes, we did talk to them about this on the show, so go listen to the interview podcast that is in the same feed. But great stuff. I don't know if you like Powerpuff Girls. I think they nailed the voice. They nailed the look. I really enjoyed reading this. I'm very excited to hand this to my kids and have them read it as well. It's one to pick up.
Agree with all of that. And the thing that I didn't say on the show, on the live show, but I was thinking a lot, is like, this comic really takes the Powerpuff Girls and brings them to comics, uses the comic book form to tell a great story that you couldn't get in an animated episode of the series. The sort of split frame thing that we get 2/3 of the way through the book, I thought was awesome. I like the villain choice here. I know, Pete, you wished it was Mojo Jojo. Maybe that's an obvious choice.
That's what's nice.
But I do think this was a cool villain choice. And the other thing about Powerpuff Girls is it's like a kid's show, but there's some dark edge to it. It's a funny show, but there's something about the show and this comic that has a little bit of a darkness to it. And I think this book brings that over from the animated series and uses it in a great way.
Yeah, I just think that they did such a great job nailing the tone of Powerpuff Girls. It feels like the show in comic book form here in such a great way. I love the kind of evil robot and the reveal that's there. I don't want to spoil anything. But man, this is just... I love the Powerpuff Girls. So if it's done wrong, I feel very upset. But this, I feel like, was done so right. It really is in good hands here. And it's exciting to get these comics, Powerpuff Girls in comic form. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and to take a little bit of a step back, Dynamite has been doing a great job with these Warner Brothers collaborations. There was the preview of Johnny Quest that came out of Free Comic Book Day. Thundercats, of course, has been killing it as well. This is another one, so shouts to them. Good stuff. Speaking of reboots of classic properties, let's talk about an advanced review. This is an issue that's coming out July 24th. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, #1 from IDW, written by Jason Aaron, art by Joëlle Jones. The part that we don't need to be playing cool about, because the concept is out there, is we do know that every issue of the first 4 issues, at least, is Jason Aaron writing a different turtle with a different artist that they love that turtle. Like, I think they chose them. Like, Joëlle Jones was like, I want to draw Raphael, so let me do the Raphael issue. And we also know, this is out there as well, so we can talk about this. It starts out with Raphael in prison. We don't know why.
Just like Namor.
That was the thing that I wanted to bring up. This is not a knock. Love Jason Aaron. What is his deal with throwing characters in prison? Because Namor in prison, and I know that was the status quo, mind you. Raphael in prison. Batman Off-World is all about Batman gets locked in prison and then has to break out of prison. What is going on there? Please help me with this.
Well, the prisons in our country are a real issue, and it's nice to see that Jason Aaron is taking this head on.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love this. All the prison jokes aside here. I don't want to spoil anything, but man, this was just some badass shit. And Michelangelo is next. I can't wait for it. But yeah, great, smart. Start with Raph. That's a smart move. Everybody loves.
That's my question. Why start with Raph? Because does everyone loves Michelangelo the most? I think that's fair.
Oh, right.
I don't know. I love Donatello the most. He does machines.
Yeah, we know, Alex.
No, you start with Raph. You start with the muscle of the group. The freaking.
What about? Rage. Okay, let's turn to the 4th member of our podcast. Which turtle did you think you should start with?
The 4th member?
Yeah, we've covered. You want Michelangelo.
Yeah.
Pete wants Raph. I want Donatello. So the 4th member of our podcast, which turtle would you like?
Oh, you're talking about the Leonardo, the turtle, the 4th member of our team?
Yeah, Leonardo, the turtle, is the 4th member of our podcast, and he's always choosing Leonardo. And
himself.
Thus far, he has not said anything out of the podcast.
Silent. To be fair, he's just a regular turtle, so he doesn't pipe
that's
up.
what they say in the opening song, right? Like, and Leonardo is silent.
I just think that this is exciting to kind of reboot the Turtles in this way here. And I'm really very excited for the Turtles to reclaim their glory as the pinnacle of all that is important in comics. So I'm just really...
Reclaim their glory. They've got it. The Turtles are selling hot. Like, they're at the top of their game right now. So that is exciting that we get sort of a big swing here by... The Turtles, I think, are going to be in 4 very different places. I think that's the point of these first 4 issues. And this first issue definitely illustrates that. It was very cool. I feel like Raphael is the one you want to see 4th. Just because he's the most dramatic turtle. Right?
He is. He wears his heart on his sleeve. He also is very hard on himself, which you get in this issue. I loved how true to the core of these characters it starts. I'm very excited to see what we're going to get, what Michelangelo we're going to see, what shape Leo is going to be in. So, and apparently people care about Donatello. I just think it's one of those things where it'll be interesting.
He does machines! We're on a machine right now.
His role has only grown more important as technology increases in our lives.
It's not.
Maybe in the future, Donatello does AI.
Oh, that would be cool.
We don't know. That's like his version of a grappling hook.
Can I throw out, this is a stupid comment that Pete is absolutely going to hate, but I really like I really like this issue. I thought Joëlle Jones's art, of course, is fantastic.
yeah.
The action scenes are absolutely killer throughout. Jason Aaron has a great handle on Raph, knows how to thrust him into a situation that is filled with danger and intrigue. The overall mystery of why he's there, the other turtles aren't, is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Should this have been a 4-issue miniseries leading up to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1?
Interesting.
Why is that better, Dick?
Just because it's
Why is
like
that better, Dick?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1, I want to see the turtles together.
Right.
You got to
see them
build.
interact.
You don't get that right away. You got to build to that, man.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind that it's starting this way. I take your point, but I feel like you want everyone to get on board, and this is the way to do it.
Yeah, this is the way.
This is the way. As they say in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles lore. Phoenix #1 from Marvel, written by Stephanie Phillips, art by Alessandro Miracolo. This is the second From the Ashes title out of the gate. Here we're focusing on Jean Grey, who is now a cosmic version of Phoenix, traveling around the universe trying to right wrongs wherever she can. She encounters Nova. She can encounter some other characters. I have a lot of thoughts about this book. Overall, generally positive, but it is 100% clearly influenced and inspired by Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, down to having just a girl on a planet being like, I did not meet the Phoenix yet, but let me tell you about the Phoenix, and later I met her, and here's what I did. And it's straight up that story, and that's fine. And the reason I'm fine with that is Phoenix is so complicated, and X-Men continuity is so complicated. I like this better than X-Men #1 because I thought this was a much better entrance point into this character and her new status quo than X-Men #1 was. Pete is nodding his head no. Justin, I want to go to you, particularly because you weren't here last week, so we didn't ask you about X-Men #1.
I think this book, I like the entry point, like you're saying. This feels like to me it's strange to lean so hard into the cosmic side it feels like they were redefining the X-Men and very much going back to sort of basics or a single premise. In her book, this book feels like it's just so far afield from everyone else, but maybe that's the point of it. And I do like the sort of psychic phone call to Scott. I hope that remains a feature
mind
here.
sex.
Yeah, well, they don't have sex, but I mean, they probably do, but they're just not in the issue.
Right.
And if they did, which they are doing, I'm into it.
No, that's nice.
Pete, what do you think happens on phone calls? Real quick, just break it down for us.
Sex.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's between two people there. I'm not trying to spy on that. Yeah, I mean, if you like Jean Grey and Scott, you'll love this issue because it's a shit ton about their relationship.
It's like 2 pages.
Yeah, it's like
it's
2
not.
pages.
It's mostly there's more of Nova.
Thrust. It's the whole issue. And it's nice to be able to contact a loved one anytime you want, but I think there's invading privacy, a little bit, you know what I mean? Because at least with the FaceTime, you can be like, I'll call you in a couple minutes, you know what I mean? I'm busy. But when you're mind fucking somebody, it's very
They're
intrusive.
not mind fucking, they're talking. They're having a conversation.
That's how it starts, and then things get, a little hot and heavy.
Oh, okay, all right.
Wow, man,
School dad
I would love to-
chaperone Pete LePage over here.
I'd love to hear a phone call Pete's having. Gets hot and heavy fast.
I generally like this. I was into this. I thought this was a nice clean in. I didn't quite understand the last page here. Like, I know we're leading into the next issue, but I don't know how we got there. So there are little quirks that I don't think are quite working, but I do think there's a good setup. They're clearly redefining the Phoenix and how it works, because the way that I understand Phoenix is it's a
Talking about the
big,
letters page?
it's a big flame bird that flies through planets, and now it's not. It's something else.
Well, there's definitely an all-powerful thing going on here, and
Yeah, it seems like
there's-
that is a fast forward to what's to come.
No,
The
I
last
know.
page
It
you're
doesn't.
talking about.
It doesn't work. That's my point. I was trying to be nice about it. It does not work. But I don't know.
it's just sort of out of nowhere. I agree with you, but I like to see the characters that were revealed on that last page.
Yes. All right. Why don't we move on, though, from the ashes to our Power Hour, where we talk about absolute power books. We got 2 books this week, Superman 16 and Wonder Woman 11. Let's talk about Superman number 16. First, from DC Comics, written by Joshua Williamson, art by Jamal Campbell. If you didn't read Absolute Power number 1, Superman, no powers, got shot, and that's where we're picking up here. And frankly, I wish we had stayed with that, because that was so emotionally palpable. All the stuff with Clark barely hanging on to life, like that got me. I felt for Superman. I felt for everybody around him. But we very quickly move into like the beat of Superman and Zatanna need to go on a mission, and there's a lot of absolute power stuff going on, and it's all well done because it's Joshua Williamson. Jamal Campbell's art is gorgeous as usual, but man, I kind of feel like if it had just been Superman on the brink of death the entire issue, this would have been an all-timer.
I agree with you there a bit, because I think if that was underlying the story a little bit while all this other action was happening, which it could have easily been, it might have been had that dramatic impact could have been spread out. But I agree with you. The emotional impact here, this book is just doing a great job of giving us the emotionality behind the other absolute power stuff, and the kryptonite scalpel. You gotta have one on hand.
Yes.
Yeah, that was fun, the kryptonite scalpel, for sure. Yeah, I really like the young Clark doing magic kind of flashbacks that we got there. Super adorable, amazing art. The present stuff is just Waller winning. Boo, nobody wants that. But I do like this kind of, the magic stuff. And, I just think that, maybe that's a good way to beat Waller's, get a little magic on. So, I thought this was fun. But, we'll see as far as the event goes.
You seem so bummed out. Well, let's see.
Why are you bummed?
Yeah, why are you bummed, yo?
I'm bummed because Waller's winning. That's why I'm bummed. Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, let's turn to another issue in our Power Hour where Waller is winning. Wonder Woman number 11 from DC Comics, written by Tom King, art by Tony S. Daniel and Belen Ortega. The front story here is doing a weird middle continuity thing for an otherwise very focused book where Wonder Woman and a bunch of magical pals are hanging out and playing poker, I assume. Until they get attacked by an Amazo robot who takes all of their magical powers. And then the backup story is once again about young Trinity. In this case, Damian and John take her to a Black Canary concert. It's basically a Taylor Swift concert.
Taylor Swift reference.
To start with the background, these are so good. These backup stories are so good.
Yeah.
So much fun.
And this one was one of my faves. This was an excellent one.
Yeah. Damien's overall arc over the course of this story, from going like, I would never go to a Black Canary concert, how dare you, to being like, where they end up, no spoilers here, but where they end up in a fight with Mongol at the end is so funny and so good.
So funny.
Great.
Very well played.
The front story, I will say also, despite the fact that I was a little weirded out, this is coming in the middle of this very focused story that Tom King is doing, I thought was very well done and a different mode for King. He leaned into Tony S. Daniel as artist, his panel layout, his art style, his pacing, that I thought was pretty great and a nice shake up there. And I am a sucker for Detective Chib. This is a great Detective Chib story.
You do love
I love Detective Chib, and I love him slowly over the course of the issue figuring out what's going on with the Amazo robots, which I thought was a really neat, not twist, since we knew it as readers, but in terms of textually for the event, I thought it was very nicely done.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, it's great to see Tom King do a just knockdown, drag out superhero event fight and bring some of this other energy to it. I like the sort of Amazo, just quotation bot of it all here, and great art. This was really a team book as opposed to a Wonder Woman book.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. But it is a great package. You got a great backup and solid first story.
God, you sound so sad, Pete. I'm so sorry. I'm bummed that
You
you're not
hate
like
absolute power.
you really do.
You're
Let's
just
go to
waiting
the
for the
blood
heroes to
hunt!
fight.
Well, let's get the blood hunt started with our blood block. Yeah. And boy, oh boy.
Wow, I missed a week and we're doing tongue stuff? Is that what we
that's
do
right.
now?
Yeah, that's cool. Anyway, let's get into the blood
like
block. There's a bunch of blood hunt stuff that's going on, mostly spin-off stuff this week. We can start it off with Amazing Spider-Man Blood Hunt number 3 from Marvel, just to clarify, written by Justina Arland, art by Marco Ferreira. In this issue, Spider-Man and Morbius and the Daughters of the Dragon and the Lizard, and there's a bunch of other characters there, and they're doing stuff. And Pete, what did you think?
This seemed to wrap up nicely. You know what I mean? This this
Your voice
issue
went
kind of
very
really
high. Okay.
He's coming back.
wrap things up a little bit here, and
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of thought it was kind of nice and clean, which was enjoyable.
I like the sort of sad Morbius stuff going on here, which
They
was
threw
fun.
him a bone at the end, though.
Yeah, I mean, he was still pretty sad, I think.
Here's
He was just
Spider-Man was like,
I liked
tell me he can have the lab for as long as he wants.
not to jump ahead and talk about Dracula Blood Hunt as well, but I feel like this is me just speculating. I do not know. I was not in the room where it happened or anything like that.
You've never been on a blood hunt, so you don't know.
I've never been on a blood hunt. I wish.
I've been on some amateur blood hunts, but never anything at this scale.
Not professional.
You know what I mean?
Of course
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
No. This book and Dracula Blood Hunt both to me feel like they had a bunch of characters on the board that were like, okay, these are vampire related characters. Let's do something with them. And then with this one, people were like, nobody is going to buy Morbius Blood Hunt. Call it Amazing Spider-Man Blood Hunt, and let's figure out how to get Spider-Man in there. So people buy it. Same thing with Dracula Blood Hunt. Nobody is going to buy Bloodline Blood Hunt. Call it Dracula Blood Hunt. So at least there's that name recognition. And I understand that if that's true from a marketing perspective, it's a bummer for me for a reader because all the Spider-Man stuff is like, well, I'm here. This was a little bit of a side mission for me versus I think it could have been a better story if it was just focused on Morbius and what's going on with Morbius. And then same thing with Dracula Blood Hunt. Stuff with Bloodline is great. And everything that's going on with her and her family dynamic is really interesting. And Dracula's like, I'm also here. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, he's like, I will fight also. Well, but let me say, the Spider-Man book, the Morbius was really bummed because he couldn't get lab funding, which I thought was an interesting list for him in general, was his big complaint. But the real thing that was about the Spider-Man book was this was a separate fire outbreak that happening during Blood Hunt, which I thought was very odd.
Yes.
Yeah, I like the Misty stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't have a problem with this. There was plenty of, fighting Spider-Man and stuff like that. It was funny that Morbius was really kind of being real about stuff. And he was like, the hardest part about being a scientist is Spider-Man? Come up with funding, man. It's a full racket. You don't know what it's like, It's not all just testing.
And it's weird to me when they do stuff like that. And I know we're not supposed to remember this, but there was a whole point when Spider-Man ran an entire corporation and was the CEO of it. And I'm like, he does know. And I wish somebody would bring that up. But or alternately, they had never done that. But whatever it is. Let's talk about X-Men Blood Hunt. Laura Kinney, the Wolverine #1 for Marvel. By Stephanie Phillips, art by Robert Gill. In this issue, Laura finds Gabby, aka Honey Badger.
Come on.
And they go searching for what seems to be missing mutant, but that's not actually what's going on here. Pete, you seem pretty hyped about this one, so take it away.
Yeah, this was one of my favorites this week. First off, the opening action sequence just grabs you by the chones. It's really just badass and very exciting.
What?
I love the use of X-23
He's saying
in
cojones,
this.
but he's saying is chones.
It's an expression.
Great new terminology in the Pete lexicon. Love it.
Yeah, I just think
Jones.
this is a real blast, and I love the art, love the panel work here. Just that action sequence got me up out of my seat, man. It was really fantastic, and yeah, it's great to see Honey Badger and X-23 back together like this. It warms the cockles of my heart, and yeah. And also the humor, the lightness that was brought. You got, it could be very dark or whatever, but I thought that the way they kind of played with the son of Dracula, I thought was fun, and really just this was just an action-packed, great comic from start to finish. I loved everything that happened, and yeah, I'm still having a great time on this Blood Hunt.
It took me back to the Wolverine series featuring Laura that we used to love. And like, I feel like top to bottom, it was that with Gabby and just the tone, the vibe where it ended. It was a heartfelt story with a ton of like claws going into necks. Just what you want to see.
Dude,
so I really enjoy. This was my favorite of the Blood Block.
Nice.
Well, let's see what everybody thought about Blood Hunters #4 from Marvel, written by Fabian Nicieza, Mary San Giovanni, and Erica Schultz. Art by Patch Zurcher, Giada Belviso, and Bernard Chang. This is an anthology book focusing on different areas of Blood Hunt, ending with a Blood Hunters team that is going to spin off into its own series. Just to start with that, we said the same thing the last issue, but this is such a weird team that I'm totally into, and I think Erica Schultz, particularly as a writer, is doing a great job with. It's Hallows Eve, White Widow, Dazzler, and Elsa Bloodstone, which are 4 characters that I'm like, I don't know, but...
Cool, friends.
Yeah, but it totally works. They're all characters that I really like that don't get enough shine, and Erica Schultz is a pro with bringing out little character bits of everybody, even in a short story like this. So that was great. I was very into that.
Yeah, we got a Silver Surfer story in the beginning, which was cool, but then when I got into the like hot girls nightclub shit, I think it kind of fell off a little bit there. But I don't know. The Silver Surfer stuff was kind of tripped out and fun, and yeah, I agree. Like, I love Hallows Eve as a character, but I don't know, man. Just the way it was drawn was a little bit of like, man, why are we still doing this?
Wait, doing what? What do you mean?
What?
Just this. I don't know. Sometimes you're like, oh, it's not the skimpy outfits. It's more than that. But just sometimes I feel like they lean into it too much, and I'm just like,
you
didn't like the jumpsuits
story?
Yes, in the Blood Hunters story.
Interesting.
Well, you mean also the Satana story.
The
Satana story. That
The nightclub one, but also, and the second one as well.
I liked all these stories. I just like an anthology, especially in a crossover like this, to touch on a bunch of different things. Silver Surfer seems about the furthest away from the blood hunt. There was no blood. There was no hunt here. He's just worried about the Dark Force, which is fun. And then the Satana stuff felt like it was just like a horror short in the middle of this story. And the Blood Hunters, to have that continue on, is fun, I think.
And just to take a look back at the series, I will give a shout out to the Hell Cow story that was in the last issue, which I think, frankly, made this whole thing worth it. That was great. If you haven't checked that out, go check that out. And then Blood Hunters #3. We're going to wrap up the Blood Block with Dracula Blood Hunt #3 from Marvel, written by Danny Laura, art by Vincent Caratu. This is focusing on Bloodline, as I said earlier, as she is working with Dracula to find out more about Blade and Varney, the original vampire that has taken over him. Like I said earlier, I think all the stuff with Dracula is fine. It's fine action stuff. But the family stuff with Bloodline is really interesting and emotionally palpable. And I really wish this whole event had been about that. Again, I understand being like, hey, man, we're going to hook this on the daughter of Blade is maybe not top seller material, but it's really interesting. Like the idea of the daughter of Blade finding that her dad is turned evil and the only person she can trust is Dracula. That's very emotionally palpable. And Danny Lord does a good job of it here, but that's a strong enough emotional hook for Blood Hunt proper, and I wish they had played that out.
Well, yeah, I mean,
but don't you think it's gonna come back around to that? This issue feels like it's setting up Bloodline for a major role in the finale, and the Bloodline was a character when she was first introduced felt like sort of just like a side sort of Buffy the Vampire Slayer type character to have in the Marvel Universe, but this series and this issue especially has put her like front and center as maybe the emotional core of this whole event. Yeah. And I thought this issue had a lot of hugely important things to inform the main Blood Hunt title. So I loved reading this. And yes, Dracula was just like sort of running around swinging at stuff in his own little way, but it was still a good issue.
Yeah, I really like this issue. I also like the use of Dracula here in a cool way. I also really agree that the Bloodline story was super impressive. This whole kind of connection, you think it's all about Blade and her dad or whatever, but the mother being kind of the emotional tether and the kind of her kind of voice of reason, I think was so smart and very cool. Kind of gets you in the feels. Also, it was kind of hilarious how much Dracula was talking about Varney, just to kind of like almost being like, no, he's a real character, everybody. Stop it. No, seriously, he's been around for a while. Yeah. Super important. I'm going to keep saying his name because
I actually went to high school with Varney, and he was a pretty sick dude back then.
Sick
but
dude.
Now he's
Seriously,
back.
Quarterback.
So,
he was
watch
quarterback
out.
on
He's a
the
sick
team.
dude.
Everybody loved him through sick parties. It was crazy.
Yeah. So
he's a prom king. He's a prom king.
All that being said, I really thought this was an action-packed issue that was a lot of fun and worth checking out.
Destro number 2. We're done with the blood block, by the way. Destro number 2. I'm so sorry. Put your blood.
Wow, what a
back.
sad end out with a whimper. Blood block.
Away.
I don't know. I was going to pitch you guys a whole TV show about this, but I decided we're running low on time as it is.
Oh, out with a blood block.
Destro number 2 from Image Comics, written by Dan Waters, art by Andre Brassid. We are continuing the story of an arms dealer, an evil arms
dealer. Destro versus the twins, bro. Come on.
Zamat and Tomas, is that right?
Yeah, kind of.
A lot of economic discussions in this comic. Is that a classic
really like
Destro
that.
thing, Pete?
Yeah. Honestly, I like this better than the first issue. This felt like the thing they were getting to. The structure was very clear here throughout. Them going back and forth from the twins to Destro. It felt very satirical about... not necessarily arms dealers, but satirical about billionaires, the billionaire class in the way that they are playing games with everybody's lives. I thought this was very well done, and I always really like Andre Bressin's art, so I was a fan of this.
Yeah, I thought this was absolutely fantastic here. You got Destro versus the twins, and they're trying to outsmart each other. I can't wait to see what's going to kind of have happen next. Each one thinks that they have the upper hand, and this is just continues to be a nostalgia blast of fun and all these great ways. And yeah, it's great to see the bats and all this kind of fun stuff and all the toys that they kind of fight in. It's just, I'm a sucker for it. It should be better.
From a macroeconomic point of view, what do you think this is doing to the Energon Universe stock market, especially the blue chip tech stuff?
Well, I mean, the stock market, as we all know, is very volatile. You know what I mean? Sometimes you feel like it's something you can depend on, and other times, you feel like the wind changes, and then you're like, "What the fuck happened?" So, it's hard to tell. But I do like the fact that they're talking.
Pete's been day trading. It sounds like. What's going on here? We got to worry about that. Yeah. I agree. This was fun. Let me ask you, Pete. When you read the line "chameleon to overkill," is that like a Joe Boner that you had there?
Yeah, I definitely had a Joe Boner for sure. Just okay, like Dark Noir, I had my first murder boner.
Nice. Nope.
The boys rough? No?
No. We're going to move past that and talk about Ultimate X-Men #5 from Marvel by Peach Momoko. In this issue, we're continuing to explore the powers that these teens have, as well as find out more about the villain of the series. This is, and I say this complimentarily, very weird.
Yeah, I mean, Peach Momoko continues.
Weird, but what's...
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Peach Momoko continues to have this artistic, amazing kind of romp here, and such a great way of taking these characters that we know so well and kind of artistically spinning them in different directions. I'm having such a blast with this. The watercolor art is just... It's worth it for the art alone. This is super tight nanners. I mean, this is just peak comics. I fucking love every second of it.
Nanners or chones, right, Pete?
Oh my God, the chones on Peach Momoko, I can't even tell you.
What I like about this, especially because it is beautiful, it is like hard to grasp onto at times what's happening. But it feels like this book is going to be around for a while. It feels purposefully so, and it's like taking its time with building out this story, building out what the X-Men are in this Ultimate Universe, and that's really cool. I love that we can really sit in this, and I'm enjoying it.
I love this too. My continuity brain, though, is starting to rail a little bit against... Now that we have the Ultimates coming out, the Ultimates feels of a pair and on the same page with Ultimate Spider-Man, where it's like, this is a different world. Here's specifically how it's different. The maker changed these things, and it is sort of eked out into this different thing. Ultimate X-Men is like totally different universe. That's what it feels like.
Why can't it be a totally different Peach universe?
I love it. Like, I'm into it. I'm really enjoying it, but... Between the Ultimates, Ultimate Spider-Man, and to a slightly minor degree, Ultimate Black Panther, I do think they're telling this uber story that clearly is going to stretch out.
So you're over-ultimated is what you're saying. There's too much ultimate.
It is not at all what I'm saying. What I'm saying is like Ultimate X-Men seems like it is a different story and telling a different story than what's going on.
Why can't that be a thing? Why does all the ultimate things have to...
Because the other ones are coordinating. If you have a team, Pete, you watch sports, I believe? You like sports? Okay, so imagine a football team, right?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
There's a bunch of football players on the team. How many football players are on a team usually?
Listen, you're losing the track of it here. Let me help you out here. Okay? So, yeah, I can understand a bunch of people doing something, but artistically... Let the Peach world be whatever the fuck it's going to be because it's so beautiful and so different. Here's what I'm saying.
Okay, I'll talk about something I can relate to. A bunch of people working at Domino's Pizza, right? One of them is making ice cream. And you're like, what are you doing over there?
But it's some unbelievable ice cream, so who gives a shit?
That's what I'm saying, except I go into Domino's Pizza and they're like, hey, do you want some ice cream? I'm like, I do not.
What?
I don't want that.
You say no to ice cream?
Yeah, you don't now.
I want my fucking
Wait till they release Domino's ice cream pizza.
Yeah, bro. You don't even know what
which they're definitely doing.
If someone asks you if you want ice cream, you don't say no. Who says no to ice cream?
All right, you're making some fair points. I've retracted.
At any point, you never say no?
No.
Whenever anybody... If
you never say no to ice cream? That's crazy.
It's like that famous line from Ghostbusters. If somebody asks you if you want ice cream, you say yes.
You say yes.
That's right. Love that movie. It's all about getting ice cream, I believe. Nightwing number 116 from DC Comics, written by Tom Taylor, art by Bruno Redondo. Nightwing has been targeted for all the crimes that Heartless has committed in Bloodhaven. At the same time, he is too scared to leap, or in other words, Dick Grayson's can't jump, if you will. Yeah. And he's got to explore that. He's got to fix that. And this issue ends in a panel that legitimately made me laugh out loud. Laugh out loud. One of the silliest panels I have seen.
Oh, I loved it.
Alex, that's funny. It was dramatically satisfying.
It was cool.
Was it?
It was awesome.
Okay.
Oh, you can wear whoever's. People can change clothes.
Yeah,
I
man.
could show up and be wearing Pete's clothes
Can
one
we
day.
talk
It's
about
fine.
this? Can I spoil this if this is okay with our
You
listeners?
spoil things too much.
Oh, whatever. It's fine. We're doing
wait, before you spoil it,
talk
let me
about the book, and then I will talk about why I thought the
First
last one
off,
was silly.
Awesome, badass Dead Man cover. Really loved it. I thought that rocked. Yeah, Nightwing's on this cool kind of trip up the kind of mountain for his monk, and I really love the tropes that they play with here. Deadman points out it's really funny, and yeah, it got me in the feels, and also the dog stuff was really cool. I just thought this was such a blast of an issue. I loved every panel, and the art's unbelievable. So I was very moved by what happened to the end. I didn't laugh at it.
We love this book. The art is fantastic. The connection to Boston Brand that they established here, I thought was really cool. The building out the Nightwing sort of mythology going backward and forward at the same time is great. I think there's just so much bad shit happening in Bloodhaven that it is scary, and I don't mind the little twist that happens at the end because
come on, man.
it's fun, it's sweet, it's inspiring.
It is inspiring.
You can wear your kids' clothes.
Yeah, come on. Dad's going to save the day, man. Dad's stepping up.
I don't know. Who's going to believe that? I know we're bouncing around it. I won't spoil it for anybody. Love this issue. All
You
of your
can.
comments.
That's what you do. Come on, man. Let's do it.
Okay. Batman. So Heartless calls out Nightwing, except he knows Nightwing is Dick Grayson. He is pretending that Dick Grayson is Heartless. So there's a back and forth going on there. Dick has to leave town to go train and get his mojo back, just like in Austin Powers Goldmember with Boston Brown. Thank you so much. And so Batman is like, you know what? Dick has done this for me before. I'm going to dress up and I'm going to become Nightwing. I agree with you. Great emotional moment, but the way they draw it, the clothes are just so tiny on him. I'm like,
Batman's bigger.
He's jacked. He's huge. That's not what Dick looks like. It's
funny.
Well, it is. Are we going to get a butt comment next issue?
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's just he's too large for the costume. Nobody is going to believe he's Nightwing. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, also, he's old.
Yes.
Technically. So, I think we were like, whoa, what, dude? You can't do this. You don't flip around and stuff.
The Dick thing works, Trim dressing up as Batman, because it's just his chin and his eyes. That's all you see. Bruce dressing up as Nightwing is exactly what you said. I'm wearing my child's clothing. And I don't know. I don't want to believe
Plus, throwing batons is nothing like throwing a batarang. No. And Batman doesn't even really do that anymore. So he just sort of stands around and is like, I made a robot kill everyone. I'm sorry.
For sure. I love the emotional thrust.
Yes,
Bruno
the fact that he's
drew a heck of a paddle. It's just at the same time I turned the page and I was like, ha ha ha.
The fact that he's willing to do that for his son is magical.
I also laugh at a father stepping up for his son. That's the other thing.
Yeah, because you never do that.
Yeah.
Never.
When you see Alfred dressed as Robin next issue.
His corpse, you mean?
That's going to be sick.
Yeah. They dress up Alfred's
of course.
corpse.
Whenever I'm mentioning Alfred, I mean corpse. I'm talking corpse.
They do. What is this? What are you doing?
It's time for Rough Risers. Let's go.
Oh, no, we're not there yet, man.
Come on.
I can't believe you've skipped this, Pete. In the
I'm skipping. Oh, yeah. Oops.
You are skipping.
I'm skipping
one of your
ahead.
favorite creators. I guess you don't want to talk about it, so we'll just skip ahead to Rough Risers and go to that. Is that okay with you, Pete?
No, I'm sorry. I was jumping ahead there.
Sure were. Got excited, and now you're no longer a Daniel Warren Johnson fan. The Moon is following us, #1, out September 18th. From Image Comics, written by Daniel Warren Johnson, art by Rodney Roswell. Very early look, and Daniel Warren Johnson. This is a collaboration between the two of them. There's this adorably sweet story that Daniel Warren Johnson tells about the genesis of this book, where he was taking his kid to the playground, and his kid saw the moon in the sky and was like, "There's the moon, Daddy," and then took the kid to the swings and was like, "There's the moon again." And when they were walking home, the kid was like, "I think the moon is following us." And so that's what he based the story on. That's not what the story is about necessarily, but it is very much about parents and children. It is a fantasy story. It's an epic story. We won't spoil anything about it here, but I will say, knowing this was the first issue of a Daniel Warren Johnson book, I spent the entire issue being like, where is it? When are you going to punch me in the fucking gut? You son of a bitch. How dare you? When is it coming? And I'll tell you what, comes on that last page, it gets you, and you are going to be so emotionally in on this book, you are not going to be able to put it down.
It's an amazing book.
The big thing is the future punch we're going to get down the line when the story comes to it. It is setting up some amazing stuff. I loved this. I thought it's such a great premise. I like that the book's a little bit coy at it, but it totally works. The art's fantastic. This was such a great read.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. This is an unbelievable team. You got Daniel Warren Johnson and Riley Rossmo together, and I couldn't love this more if I tried. This was such a cool kind of futuristic story, and it's glorious.
Yeah. Again, we're kind of bouncing around the premise here because a lot of it is very spoilery about what actually happens in the issue. It folds out and gives you the information as it goes. But if you are a fan of Rosmo, a fan of Johnson, 100% definitely pick this up. This does not disappoint. All the hype on this one. Pete, are you okay moving on? We want to get to your number one book of the week, The Rough Risers Rise Again, I believe.
Rough Risers, we in here.
What If Aliens number 5 from Marvel, written by Leon Reiser, art by Guy Villanova. This is finishing up. Excuse me, I don't know why I blanked on the word there. The tale of Carter Burke and what if he had survived. And it's goofy. It sure is goofy.
It's leaning into the riser of it all, and why not? I mean, this is just a fun, riser what if idea, and I think it's well executed with great art and fun story. I mean, TGIF, am I right? Come on.
TGIF?
Yeah, quoting the comic.
Yeah, that happens in the comic. So he's quoting it.
You.
I'll full disclosure. When I was putting together this stack this week, when I got to this book, I was like, "Well, we've come this far. Just throw in the last issue here.
We got it home. We get it home.
It is unfair.
To ride with Riser, you got to go all the way, bro.
It is unfair to judge a comic on what you expected or wanted it to be, but this is so goofy. And unlike anything in the Alien series, this is not also like a what if series at all. I don't know. Again, unfair to judge it.
Try things. Do stuff different. Yeah, why not, man?
Sure. I guess. There's some good comedy bits in this issue.
There is.
That's really sweet.
Wow. All right. Well, why don't we talk about Green Lantern War Journal number 11 from DC Comics, written by Philip Kennedy Johnson, art by Montos. We're starting to wrap things up here as John Stewart figures out what's been going on with the Radiant Dead and figures out how to make it work for him. Lots of big mythological stuff going on here. Pete, what did you think about this one?
Well, yeah, I mean, first off, great cover, great art, love all the action. And, I've been really worried about the grandma, so it was great to see her kind of phase into somebody else, you know what I mean, and use that as a power up. So that's just just fun. And, Jon Stewart levels up as well. So I'm enjoying the good guys kind of coming together here and kicking some butt.
Justin?
He left.
Oh, he left. He's gone. Okay. Yeah.
He had some internet issues.
All right. This is okay. I think there's obviously a lot of ambition going on here. I really like the arc quite a bit. I've lost a little bit of track of who the villains are, but I am looking forward to the final issue anyway, because there's some good stuff going on. Biker Mice from Mars.
I do think it's an interesting philosophy. You know what I mean? Instead of people dying, they can phase and into each other and form a new being. You know what I mean? That's kind of a cool idea.
Who are you going to phase into when you die, Pete?
Oh, geez. Well, I'm going to find a young punk, like someone who just doesn't know any better, and I'll be bringing
you're going to go to one of those punk clubs that have been popping up all over the city.
Yeah.
Find a punk. Great. Biker Mice from Mars, #1 from Odie Press, written by Melissa Flores. Speaking of these punky mice, written by Melissa Flores, art by Francis Portela. This is continuing the Decemverse, which is Odie Press's own take on Energon Universe and other things. Here we're getting, per the title, a bunch of biker mice who live on Mars doing their biker mice things. Pete?
Having the best bro time ever, just broing out on their bikes.
What?
Talking about going to music festivals, living that alien biker mice just lifestyle, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Just to clarify for any of our listeners, Pete has always been very into mice breasts.
Oh, boy.
Yes. Everyone knows that.
Yeah, I didn't.
And you can check his Google search history if you have any questions about that.
People can check my Google search history?
This obviously...
Yeah, we post it.
Everyone can.
Everyone's on our Patreon Slack.
Oh, boy.
For just $2 a month, you could have Pete's Google search history.
I
wow.
wouldn't recommend it.
Talk about a flood of money. That's legit going to happen. Biker Mice from Mars, Saturday morning cartoon from our youth, obviously. Right?
Yeah.
This sort of takes it into the present with a lot of bro puns, but also a lot of strange emotionality that sort of comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Right?
I was all right with the art on this. I think Melissa Flores always does a very solid job with characterization. Yes. I don't have an emotional connection to Biker Mice from Mars, but per the title, it's mice riding bikes on Mars. None of them have breasts. I'm very sorry, Pete. I hope you're okay, but it is what it is, Let's talk about another advanced one, the Power Fantasy #1. This is out August 7th from Image Comics, written by Kieran Gillen, art by Casper Wingard. They've been pretty open about the premise of this, so we can talk about it, but
Don't spoil it.
This is what they have talked about so far, is it focuses on the world's only superhumans, and they have made a pact to never use their powers, because if any of them use their powers and they fight, it'll destroy the world. In this issue, we get a little bit of that setup, not too much of it, but it dances around that idea, and we get to see some of that premise in action. If you were a fan of Wicked and Divine in particular, I think you're going to absolutely love this book. Also, Casper Wingard's art, of course, is absolutely phenomenal and stunning throughout here. This is, I don't know, I don't say this dismissively. This is exactly what you expect from a Kieran Gillen, a high-concept book with Casper Wingard on art. It delivers on absolutely all fronts, and it is 100% a must-pick-up.
Yeah, it's very interesting and cool. And the art is phenomenal.
I feel like this is...
Frozen again. Whatever Justin felt like, I think it was all good things that he... Oh, no.
He's online? Oh, is this not...
Nah, it's not working. Sorry, Justin. It's all right. We will catch up on your thoughts later. Why don't we move on and talk about Scarlet Witch #2 for Marvel, written by Steve Orlando, art by Jacopo Cabangi. The Scarlet Witch is dead.
Hey, spoilers! Jesus, God,
That
just
happened
opening.
that happened at the end of the last issue. It's
You
okay.
can't just, you know what I mean?
It's all right. That's the setup for the issue. Or is she?
There we go.
Yeah. And while she deals with all of that in the afterlife, in regular life, Quicksilver and Darcy are trying to figure out how to stop the invasion of their small town in upstate New York. Pete, big Darcy fan, you had to love this issue.
Oh my God, Darcy rocks in this, and yeah, fun, great action. Steve is killing it. I just think Steve Orlando has really found a fun little place for him to just kind of crank out some fantastic story ideas, because every time this is just such a fun adventure to go on here. And I had a question. It's a little bit of a spoiler to the last panel, so I apologize. I don't know if I should say it or not, because I'm going to be giving it away.
It's fine.
Did she turn into Medusa?
No. So it seems like she's going on probably not 12 labors, but a multiple labors type quest through the land of the dead. In this issue, she battles not Neptune, but some sort of undersea god death type character. And my guess is, they're not explicit about this, but my guess is she takes on the aspect of them after she beats them. So in this case, she becomes sort of like, gets an octopus look. Whoever she takes on in the next issue, I'm sure she will take on aspects of them, and then maybe rule of threes, probably a third fight, and she'll fight them until ultimately she returns to Earth and has a combination of all these looks. That's pure speculation, but I think that's what's going on.
It's like how you defeated Chones, P, and took on Chones as a thing, you know? Does that make sense?
I feel like, Justin, with everything that's going on with your internet, you're some sort of heckler from beyond the grave, is what's happening.
It feels that way. It feels like I've died, and I'm just while I have it, I'm just going to say real quick. What I was going to say about the previous book was it's gotten so much hype online, and it's really, this is power fantasy. It's becoming such a thing. It feels to me, in reading it without spoiling anything, it's sort of like a Before Sunrise, those movies with Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy for comic books. Like, they're discussing these great big comic book ideas in a way where it's super accessible. You're right in there with everyone, and I just really enjoyed that aspect of it.
Real quick,
getting back to Scarlet Witch, this was dope.
Oh, nice. Great.
Well, before we lose you again, I do want to ask you about this one.
Quick. Yeah, you love the Rocketeer.
The Rocketeer breaks free, #1 from IDW, written by Stephen Mooney, art by Stas Johnson. Rocketeer and company head to San Francisco and, of course, end up in a new adventure. Justin, while we have you, you're the #1 Rocketeer fan.
Stop talking, let him go.
This is good. This is fun. The Rocketeer is in the air. It is funny. This is getting into. There's been so much in the movie. His girlfriend's name is Jenny, but in the comics it's Betty, and she looks so much like Betty Page. And I feel like there was a crossover with a Betty Page comic. Like there's a blending here of different ideas, and I was thinking about that a lot while I was reading this issue. But for the issue itself, they leave L.A. They change cities, which is, I associate Rocketeer so much with LA that it was weird to see them in a new place. But also, there's something about this world that is just so comforting to me. I don't know what it is. You guys?
Yeah, it's got that kind of old timey Stas Johnson feel. You know what I mean? It's got that. Rocketeer.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Stas.
Come on, give me that Stas.
Good old Stas.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I want a Stas.
Yeah.
But,
feel that Stas.
Yeah, this has that classic.
Oh, that Stas.
This has that kind of classical great feel to it and does feel like the Rocketeer, which is great. So when you kind of dip back in, it's nice to have those warm feelings. Great action, old-timey fun. Yeah.
Totally agree. I really enjoyed this. I think this channels the feeling of the Rocketeer perfectly. The action is extremely well drawn throughout. I really enjoyed this book quite a bit. Another advanced one, Cal, 1964, #1. This is out August 7th from Image Comics, written by Kyle Higgins and Alex Siegel, art by Rod Rice. The big deal here is not only is this a sequel to Cal, which is a series that Kyle Higgins and Alex Siegel and I believe Rod Rice did back in the day about a superhero union. They are now somehow bringing it into the massive verse, which includes Radiant Black and Rogue Sun and other characters. I don't know how that works based on the first issue.
Yeah.
Yet,
Agree.
But at the same time, in terms of mixing politics about unions and superheroes, I thought this was a very interesting read.
Yeah, definitely was. I think it had some really cool twists and turns, enjoyable stories and characters, and a great lick to it. I'm excited to see where this goes because the premise is there.
Lick? A lick?
Look to it.
Look to it.
Dude, are you serious?
I
Don't
heard
come
lick.
ask
No,
the way
I mispronounce things all the time.
I know. That's why it's weird to get fucking notes
No,
from you,
I was
bro.
not calling you
No,
out.
I
legitimately
I thought you were just saying that. Yeah,
I
thought you were just like lick.
like a guitar lick. I legitimately.
Oh, I thought it was more
you were
like give
saying-
me a lick. Give me a lick of that issue. I love it. Like ice cream. Pete's always loving ice cream.
No, I
That's
would
right.
never attack you for that.
Great.
I really like this. It's super deeply thought out. Not the lick comment we're talking about, but more the comic book about Cowl that we're into. I like this. Is there's so much depth here, and I appreciate it.
Real quick, how many licks do you think it'll take to get to the center of Cal 1964 #1?
At least 5.
1, 2, 3. 3.
I guess we'll never know. Titans #13 from DC Comics, written by Tom Taylor, art by Daniel DeNiccolo. Raven is making some big moves here. She is evil now, and she is first letting the Titans know and letting them not know by hiding the information. But there's a lot of finagling going on there. Pete, you look like you're bursting at the seams to say something.
Well, I'm just surprised you didn't do a stupid "that's so Raven" dad joke there. It seemed like you were setting it up.
I would never do that.
Okay, well,
Wow.
some
I
real-
would never
Don't
take
call
that
out
look.
a dad joke that wasn't made.
yeah, some badass covers here. This is an awesome issue. Hell and Raven being taken over, and Beast Boy versus the kind of lady shapeshifter Beast Boy type. We get a cool cameo by Spectre showing up here. This is enjoyable and worth it. I thought this was a blast. Tom Taylor is a heck of a writer and fantastic art to boot.
I agree. Why don't we talk?
I agree.
yeah,
I like
Justin,
this.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I agree. I like this. I can't tell if my internet is breaking up, but I thought it was really good. And this slow burn story is really fun.
Fish Flies, #7 from Image Comics by Jeff Lemire. This is the final issue of the title, and we really bring things home here in a big way as our snotty-nosed girl and giant bug tie up all the threads of their story. I'm going to make maybe a bold statement and say this is the best thing Jeff Lemire has done since Sweet Tooth, potentially.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Justin, you want to talk about it before your internet goes?
No, I mean, who knows? But I agree. I think this is great. I said this on the live show, but the previous issue of this series really just was like such a climactic, epic issue. And this just brought it all home in a great way, touching, heartfelt, scary, creepy. It's a great series, top to bottom.
Yeah, I mean, we get all the answers that we wanted in this issue, which is great. Kind of ties things back to the very first issue, back to the mini mart where all things start. good and bad. But yeah, I just think that just very touching. I love when Jeff Lemire gets you in the feels, and the Danny Franny thing was just adorable. And I was really impressed by this. Now that it's all kind of done, overall, there were times when we were first reading it where I was like, yeah, this might be losing me a little bit, but then the next issue it picked right back up. So this was super impressive from start to finish.
Star Trek Annual 2024, from IDW, written by Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly, art by Rachel Stott. We are following Data, who is taking on his detective Data identity, teaming up with Miles O'Brien to track down Lore, his evil brother, across the galaxy. There's twists, there's turns, there's some big moves for the Star Trek universe. I thought this was great. Such a great story. Like, I'm 100% in the tag for this anyway, so I can't necessarily tell if this is accessible to anybody, but having Data in detective mode, teaming up with Miles O'Brien, that's my jam.
Yeah, I mean, this continues to be awesome Star Trek stuff. At this point, I'm running out of cool things to say about this just because these continue to be really impressive what they're doing for something that is a great TV show, but then also fantastic in comic book form here as we're seeing. Impressive art, glorious storytelling, and really feels like you're in the Star Trek universe.
They're doing something really amazing in that they're created a pretty thick continuity, but it's still accessible to people who've just watched the show. Because when you see a character show up in the middle of this book, you're like, hell yeah, perfect, great, let's go. And what more can you ask for from something as a universe as rich and full of so much going on as this?
It's great stuff. Incredible Hulk, number 14 from Marvel, written by Philip Kennedy Johnson and Ryan North, art by Nick Klein and Javier Garrón. In the front story, Hulk is dealing with a new threat that is keeping him locked, I believe, inside of his own brain, specifically the Hulk. He's going through the mindscape there. And then there's a backup story that's going to run through him. Hulkscape, if you will. And there's a backup story that is going to run through a bunch of titles pitting Deadpool against Wolverine. Pete, you were clapping. Take it away.
Yeah, I just, wow. The art on this issue is unbelievable. There is a double page spread here of the Hulkscape that I wanted to turn into a poster. I want it as a t-shirt. I want it on a mug. Just epic.
As a suit, as a hat, a wallpaper in your
underwear,
home, child's tattoo, underwear, thunderwear,
Thunderwear, nice. Yeah, I just think that just glorious. I love what's happening, and it's weird and tripped out, but also really interesting and cool. And just what an incredible issue of the Hulk.
Wow, it's really good. Someone complaining about dad jokes 1 minute ago.
Get out of here, Pete. Well, anyway,
the horror turn we've gotten in this book is so good. It's really good.
Yeah. What's the Furthest Place from Here, number 19 from Image Comics, written by Matthew Rosenberg and Tyler Boss, art by Dylan Burnett. In this issue, we're taking a little bit of a sidestep to follow some other characters who are living in this world and dealing with a terrifying otherworldly threat. I really like this issue. I thought this was a mysterious and interesting sidestep for the series. I thought the ending twist was great.
Oh, yeah.
Almost like a Tales from the Crypt in a way, set in the world of What's the Furthest Place from Here. Really good issue. Like this.
Yeah. Let me start by saying Bergie. And I just think that this shit gets crazy in this issue in such a great way. Thick accents, amazeballs art. This continues to rock. I cannot wait for the next issue. I'm on the seat of my comic book, on the edge of my comic book seat here. This is just
pants.
Glorious. It's a kick in the pants.
Yeah, and one of your kinks, I believe, is a thick accent, right?
Nope.
THICC, I believe.
2 C's on that.
Justin's internet worked just for that joke, so that was nice.
Great news.
Yes. All right. Well, why don't we move on?
Timing is something.
I Heart Skull Crusher, number 5 from Boombox, written by Jesse Campbell, art by Alessia Zono. This was supposed to be the final issue of the series, but good news, it's being continued.
Yay!
It's an ongoing series, so we're going to continue to follow it, but this is the final showdown between Skull Crusher and the team of Screaming Painball players that we've been following, Little Pondog Town. Great stuff, really emotional, good action throughout. I really enjoy this series.
Yes, very much so. And I'm glad we kind of got in the head a little bit of Skull Crusher. We got to spend some time. It's just kind of been this big, kind of epic character. So nice that we got kind of like the main hero talking with Skull Crusher and got a little origin story and talk about how much Skull Crusher meant to her and stuff like that. So really cool. But then they kind of twist at the end. Winning team gets broken up here, so like, oh man. But yeah, I've been really enjoying this. The arts are unbelievable, and it's got such a cool kind of anime manga look to it. A ton of action in here. So yes, this continues to be super impressive, and I'm so happy we're getting more.
It's great stuff. Oh, Justin, were you gonna?
It's just some fucked up fun, and I think we like it.
Yes,
Yeah.
Totally agree. Excited that there's going to be more. Let's talk about Invincible Iron Man number 20 from Marvel, written by Jerry Duggan, art by Andrea DeVito. This is Duggan's final issue of the title.
Doug.
And there's a bunch of stuff he's dealing with here, including the end of the relationship between Emma Frost and Tony Stark. I thought this was really well handled, really well done. There's a great twist in here, emotionally in the middle. But we're also setting up a bunch of stuff as well, which I thought was interesting. I like this issue. Pete, what did you think?
Yeah, I also really liked it. At first, I was kind of like, not into this relationship, but they won me over, these two.
Wow.
So I'm super sad to see that it's over. And the ghost dog at the end there really got me. That was
You love bats,
dude. Come on, man. It's a great story.
You say it's over, but there's a chance. I think there's a chance.
There's a chance.
I love this relationship. I love this run. I'm so sad to see all of it go. I hope we can get back to this. I think this has been one of my favorite Iron Man runs, and just the device of him narrating directly over the action has been so good. I hope we can continue that going forward.
Red Coat, number 4 from Image Comics, written by Jeff Johns, art by Brian Hitch. In this issue, our Red Coat has been captured by opposing forces. He's going to be cut a bunch of times so that they can gain immortality and power beyond, while Einstein, right? Yes, little Einstein.
Yep, it's Einstein.
Yeah,
no
tries
doubt.
to save him, and Benedict Arnold. This is goofy fun. I'm enjoying it. It's taken me a little while to get on board, but it feels like the most insane version of young Indiana Jones Chronicles possible, and I'm having a good time.
Yes.
Yeah, it's great art. It's a fantastic team. It's old-timey times, and then you got the old Georgie Washington at the end there. So that's that's.
By the way, I love that people comment on our podcast being like, Alex always spoils stuff, when it's Pete who just randomly mentions the end of comic books all the time.
But I think when Pete says it, it's hard to tell exactly what he's talking about. So I think that's how he gets away with it. You don't know what he's saying. He's just saying.
I say
stuff.
spoiler beforehand, so you know it's a spoiler.
Yeah, nobody likes that. That's putting a flag on it. You got to be a little coy about it by just blurting it out. In this issue, I think it's crazy that we learned that Benjamin Franklin was trying to live forever, and this random redcoat stole his immortality, I guess is sort of the takeaway. And Benjamin Franklin was like, whatever you do, kill that fucker that took my immortality. It was sort of like, what are we doing here? But it's a fun area to play in, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely Jeff Johns leaning into Brian Hitch as an artist and giving a big canvas to play on. But tonally, it almost feels closer to Stargirl than a lot of the other stuff that he's done because it is so goofy and over the top and fun. So I'm having a good time. Speaking of goofy, The Immortal Thor Annual #1 from Marvel, written by Al Ewing and Derek Landy, art by Juan Baldion and Sarah Pacelli. We are following the human Infinity Stones that exist in the Marvel Universe nowadays. And in this issue, Thor and Power Stone, who has the Power Stone, are tangling with the champion of the universe. This was so much more fun than I thought it would be. There were so many laugh out loud moments throughout the issue, particularly, and wait, do I not say spoilers so you don't know it's spoilers so people don't get mad at me? Is that
say spoilers, man? Just be you, bro.
Okay.
Well, it's hard to tell what you mean now. Yeah.
So Power Stone has the power to either amp up people's powers or suck them out of them, and Power Stone amps up Mjolnir to the point where Thor recalls Mjolnir and it breaks his wrist, which is
breaks his hand off, bro.
Oh my god!
So good.
I laughed.
That was so good.
Hard.
You laughed at that?
I laughed at that. It's a comedy moment.
You're
it was
a sick,
so
twisted
funny.
fucking. Somebody loses their hand, and you're like, ha ha.
And he still has it. It's just hanging out. The bone's
still there.
Yeah, it's fine. It's just hanging very loose.
I don't think it's fine.
Yeah, like New Kids on the Block sang, it was hanging tough.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow, dude.
I don't know what your brain was doing there, but shouts to that.
I'm not sure.
That no one's brain works that
so
way.
old, bro. The fact that you had that is...
I do... The Unlock is strange. The way that this Thor series laid out a big premise and is sort of just doing wheelies around it, I think is so strange. But this issue definitely worked, and the way that this feels like the Taika Waititi movies, this issue, I thought was really cool.
Yeah, I agree. It does have... It's really channeling that kind of humor in an interesting way. Yeah, you just, I'm feeling for Coulson right now. You know what I mean? He's going
in
through
the backup story. Yeah, he's definitely going through it. Other panel I'll call out, I'll forget the exact caption, but Power Stone has a shirt that's bulletproof, and there's one panel that Juan Baldion draws, which is him doing the Dark Knight jumping in front of a lightning bolt pose, where he's like, a shirt. That's great. I want that a shirt panel on a shirt. It's that.
There you go. There you go.
Great annual. Very fun stuff. Lawful #2 from Boom Studios, written by Greg Pak, art by Diego Galindo. This takes place in a world where if you do something wrong, it shows up on your body. Maybe you'll get an animal claw, maybe you'll get a little scale or something like that. But we have our main character who's just trying to do the right thing, and he keeps slightly doing the wrong thing. He finds out by the end of the issue that the world doesn't work exactly the way he thinks it works. As we talked about with Greg when he was back on the show, or I just solo talked about it. Is that what happened?
You did. Yeah,
okay.
you talked about
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. Well, we had a very good conversation about it. It's a very personal story. He's a very political guy. I think there's a lot of stuff that he is saying about the world today and how the ruling class treats everybody else, particularly the middle class that is coming through in this book. It's very smartly done. Diego Galindo's art is creative and fun as well. This is a great series. If you're not on board already, go back, pick up the first issue, pick up the second one, get on board.
Yeah, I want to say he does put a lot of political stuff in here, but it's not preachy. You won't feel like you're getting kind of yelled at while you're trying to read this thing. So
it's not like that sticker mule email.
Sure. I just think it's one of those things where there's layers to what he's doing, and it's done really well. And you have this kid who's struggling with his powers, what he's good at, what he thinks is right, what he's not. He wants to help his friend, but he's not sure. And he witnesses kind of like the main person getting a little treatment here, and so this really continues to be interesting. And I wish I was able to talk to Greg Pak about this, but unfortunately, life happens. But I'm sure it was a great discussion.
Unfortunately, we'll just never have him on the show ever again.
Well, it's not as often as I would like. You know what I mean? But
every week or every other week.
You made a decision not to show up, Pete.
Wow.
Go fuck yourself, man.
Wow. I like this book as well. It is talking about politics in its own way, but like I wouldn't call it a political book, really.
Right.
It's just Greg Pak is just a great storyteller, and he's bringing ideas to this, and it feels more like the character journey, and it's told in a really visual way. So it's a great comic.
Rifters, #2 from Image Comics, written by Brian Posehn and Joe Troman, art by Chris Johnson. This is about a bunch of cops that track down time crimes now that everybody has access to time travel. It's goopy, it's silly, it's funny. What'd you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, what a world, right? No Flash. I mean, come on. That would be a great world to live in.
Spoiler.
But this is nerdy fun, and B. Posehn does it so well. This is right in his wheelhouse. Great art, great action. This is good stuff.
I'm curious. We've seen a lot of time travel books in our time. This one is like, we're going to do it, but for comedy. I'm curious what the sort of next move with it is, where it goes. Like it feels like I hope there's something else coming to differentiate it a little bit.
Daredevil, Woman Without Fear, #1 from Marvel, written by Erica Schultz, art by Michael Dowling. I already gave big ups to Erica Schultz in this podcast in terms of her characterization, but this is not spinning directly off of her Gang War Elektra book, which was excellent, but I assume it is based on the strength of that. It's specifically spinning off of Saladin Ahmed and Aaron Kuder's Daredevil book, where Elektra is now going on her own mission. This is great. Just following Elektra on a solo mission, trying to balance being a hero with her impulse to kill. It's just a classic story trope that I think Erica Schultz plumbs new depths in. Michael Dowling's art is excellent. I feel like I'm not familiar with his art style, but it feels very Michael Gaydos to me in particular. That was the guy who was on Alias, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great stuff. Just really good. This is a series that I'm very excited to follow.
Yeah, agreed. I love this. Elektra as Daredevil is such a great choice. It really reminds me of when Bucky took over for Cap after Cap died. So I love what's happening right here. Love the train fight. Very exciting. I'm really much enjoying this take on Elektra. And thanks, more please.
I also really enjoy this. I just want to see if we can get the #1 villain of Hell's Kitchen, Thick Wilson, to show up a little bit.
Come on, Thick Wilson, let's go.
That's what we call Kingpin.
I mean, that guy fills out a pantsuit like you can't believe.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. 2 C's, right? Just to make sure.
Double that C.
Pete drank
knows.
a beer at the moment that I asked. 2 C's, Pete?
Nope.
We have an ongoing drinking game where anytime Thick Wilson comes up, everybody drinks.
Well, from Thick Wilson to Into the Unbeing, #2 from Dark Horse Comics, written by Zach Thompson, art by Hayden Sherman. In this issue, our scientists head inside of a big head, which honestly seems like an enormous... Well, they head inside a big mouth. Is that a better way of saying it?
Okay, sure.
Yeah, part of the head.
Go into.
Yeah, exactly. They do head
into a head.
Yeah, okay. They mouth into a head. Is that better? Do you prefer that?
Yeah.
That makes sense. That's how people talk.
Well, anyway, if you've seen Annihilation, you know what's going on in this book. Take it away, guys.
Oh,
I'm not saying that
wow.
dismissively.
That's a
Like,
slam.
wow.
no,
That's a
it's not a slam.
It
It's
seems like it.
I really like Annihilation. I also
da,
really
da.
like this book, even though this is a different story. It's following kind of the same tropes and rhythms of that as the scientists slowly go insane inside whatever they're inside of. It's mostly about Zach Thompson leading into Hayden Sherman's creature design and art, and I'm all for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this reminds me a little bit more of Moby Dick, where, you're trapped inside this giant whale and it's going to drive you insane.
No, Pinocchio. You're thinking of Pinocchio.
Pinocchio. Moby Dick, they spent very little time
Very little time in the whale.
Famously.
Yeah, famously.
Famously, not much time in the whale. You should give that a scan before you make the rep.
Yeah.
The chapter.
Herman
I thought this
Melville,
was
when he
great.
turned in his first draft to the editor, was like, so they're in the well the entire time. And the editor was like, I don't know, what if they're never in the well?
Oh, yeah.
And Herman Melville-
It's tough
Yeah,
notes.
it's call me. The first words of the book are "call me in the whale." And they're like, how about call me Ishmael? And they're like, okay, let's go with that.
I see what you did.
That's why you need editors, man.
Yeah,
Were you going to say anything?
that's why
about
we
this?
need an editor.
We really do. If there's any podcast editors out there, please, I need help. Justin, what
Hit
did
us
you think
up.
about this
I love
book?
this book. I thought it was great. I like it's scary, unsettling. Feels like a going into a cave style horror movie, except the cave is probably alive.
Oh,
Whew. You been to Carlsbad? It's like that too. Remote Space #2 from Image Comics by Cliff Rathburn is focusing on a Earth that has been split into two factions, one that has been genetically modified and is still living on the otherwise inhospitable planet, and the other who's living in space and has joined with computers and AI and whatever else. Well,
Wow.
Pete.
yeah. I'm living on the planet, man. Fuck going to space.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Huge news. Huge news.
Break. Oh boy, let's fill
Shocked
the
by
New York
that,
Times.
man.
I ain't leaving the planet. I'm staying here with my comics. Says Pete the Page. The planet's dying, sir. Everyone's leaving. I like it.
Ah, it's
here.
all right. Going down with the ship.
Wolverine 53.
I'm going down with the ship.
This is
Unbelievably, he survived. The radiation was absorbed by his comic book somehow, and he's thriving on Earth.
yeah, so weird. His Punisher collection absorbed most of the rays. I don't know what I'm saying. I really like the art of this book. I think Cliff Rathburn's designs are great.
Yes.
I'm not 100% sure what's going on in the story, but I do like looking at it.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, agreed. Same.
Great. That's a rare triple agree. Heart Piercer #3 from Dark Horse Comics, written by Rich Dueck, art by Gavin Smith. We are following our main character who has returned to a strange land after being thrust aside years earlier. Here she's interacting with some werewolves. I continue to really like this fantasy world, but what do you guys think?
I mean, I'm a sucker for a giant wolf. You know what I mean? So this had me at the from the beginning. So yeah, this is
And there's a lot of wolf people too. that
yeah.
are big.
So this is right in my wolf house. So yeah, I loved it.
What about the dude who's like Wolverine but with a fourth claw who's jumping around?
Yeah, I don't
That light
appreciate
you up,
him
Pete?
attacking my friend the wolf there. You know what I mean?
But you like that fourth claw. You're like, ooh, Wolverine plus.
No, it's not. It's too many claws.
Oh,
3 is the right amount.
Yeah.
I was going to
3 is
ask.
the right amount of claws.
You think, though, Wolverine should have 5 claws, right? Because he has 5 fingers.
I mean, technically, she had
You ever-
4. 'cause he's
Sorry,
got-
I'm sorry.
What,
just for anybody on our audio podcast, did you just look at your hand to check how many fingers you have?
He really did. He really truly looked at his hand and be like, interesting. He looked at his fist. Well, because when you think about it, it's like, wait, Wolverine has 3 claws that come out of his arm? How the fuck does that make sense? Doesn't.
No, it makes a lot of sense.
No, definitely not. What animal has claws that come out of like sort of the middle of their arm?
Well, it's a genetic mutation, my friend. And when you think about the rage that is in Wolverine, obviously the metal tried to escape from that. And
What?
the three claws
Bone.
was a perfect, yeah.
Yeah, his bone claws.
He's got bone claws.
Yeah. You don't know anything about Wolverine. You suck.
Hey, how dare you?
You just like his hat or whatever.
He doesn't have a hat.
You like his
Where's
little
that
mask.
hat?
He's
He
that
wears
hat.
that big top hat with the wide brim.
Oh my God!
And all the
Sometimes
comics.
he wears a cowboy hat, but
When do you think Wolverine is he's in the mansion? They're like, Wolverine, we gotta go. And he's like, sorry, I have to stuff my hair into my mask because it's the same shape as my mask.
that's how he
But
keeps
they
his
like,
mask
hurry
up.
up.
Do you think he's Shi'ar? Maybe he's Shi'ar because they also have masks that are the same shape as their hair.
Yeah, they do.
That's
That'd
right.
be-
He's got Deathbird energy.
That feels like this sort of retcon that would pitch out at a Marvel retreat, and Peter David would be like, "Yeah, maybe Wolverine Shi'ar, his hair is the same shape as his mask," and then somebody would be like, "That's a great idea," and Peter David would be like, "I'm joking, don't do that."
You know, it's
Too
a great
late. It's a
idea.
crossover. It's a giant crossover now. Sorry, you messed up.
You know, it's a great idea. Is moving on to the next comic book,
Absolutely not. We're gonna stay here forever.
Undiscovered Country.
Oh my God, we've entered Pete teeing up the comics time. Undiscovered Country number 30 from Image Comics, written by Scott Snyder and Charles Soule. Art by Giuseppe Cavicoli and Leonardo Marcello Grassi. We are getting to it here as our whole gang starts to get to Aurora. In fact, spoilers here, we finally find out where Aurora is, and it's a big twist.
Yeah.
At the end of this issue,
Don't
Aurora
spoil
is
it.
the one who has been manipulating them all along. So things are starting to come together as we get to the end of this series. I really like this issue. I feel like we've gone to some wild places over the various arcs that sometimes, frankly, have lost me a little bit with these characters. But here at the end of things, the writers, the artists, everybody have really started to focus in on what is important, and I'm excited to see how this all ends.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a long, strange trip, but we're in great hands with Scott Snyder and Charles Soule, and the art's unbelievable. Yeah, and it's, we kind of had this nice moment here where things kind of come full circle, and even the, Uncle Sam type character was kind of like, hey, great to see you again, and you're like, yeah, I didn't think we'd make it either, but so the fun twists and turns, this comic continues to surprise and intrigue us. I'll be happy when we get to the end so I can kind of be like, oh, and then be able to kind of reread it because it's been such a what's going on kind of adventure that it'll be nice to kind of finally get the answers and then be able to kind of reread to enjoy a little bit more,
It's really funny when a comic comes to the point where everyone's like, wow, a lot of stuff's happened to us, right? And that's what this issue certainly was. But it's exciting because it feels like it really is, like you're saying, setting up the finale so hard here. And it's been quite a journey.
Yeah.
Last book to talk about, Gods Among Men, number 1 from Cynation Comics, written by Josh Mack, art by Ben Sullivan. I guess the best way of describing this is like Breaking Bad, but set at a restaurant. I feel like that's fair to talk about. I like this. I thought this was a interesting start to a crime drama. What did you guys think?
Yeah, I agree. The gam of it all, there's some sweet stuff going on over here, I mean, giving your kid a little kiss before bed there, I mean, that's adorbs. But, it also gets a little crazy. They're riding the H train a little bit. So, there's some serious drug use and stuff going on, but it's all over the place. Gets you in the feels. You're like, oh, God. But, yeah, impressive.
Yeah, passionate, a lot of big ideas at play happening here at once. It feels like it's going to even out going forward as the more time. Sort of like there's a lot crammed into the pilot, I would say, for this comic.
Fair point. And that is it for this podcast. If you'd like to support us, patreon.com/Comic Book Club. Also, we do a live show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. to Facebook and YouTube. Come hang out. We would love to chat with you about comic books, Apple, Spotify, Android, or the app of your choice. To subscribe, listen, and follow the show at Comic Book Live on Twitter/X, Comic Book Club Live on TikTok and Instagram, comicbookclublive.com for this podcast and many more. Until next time, we'll see you at the Comic Book Club.
Yeah.
Check your chones.